Welcome everyone, Simon here from the Whales of Wall Street. It's been a few months. Well, the market has, of course, accelerated in most instances the last couple of weeks, particularly notably Bitcoin. But of course now, I'm back in the fray of the crypto space for these videos. I'm delighted to say that I will be focusing some more time on this. As many of you know, previous videos of the health situations in the household have taken priority. Apologies for that, but this cannot be ignored at all, this space, this market. So we're going to start, guys, with XRP today in this video. So don't forget to check out previous videos on the channel. Welcome if you are new. I have been around for a number of years in this space. Albeit I haven't done any videos for the last 3 or 4 months for those reasons earlier mentioned. But here we are, guys. Is everyone excited? Of course we are in these kind of cycles, but we can also keep ourselves grounded where possible to ensure that we don't do silly decisions and become too emotional in this already emotional, crazy market. So again, don't forget to smash that subscribe button if you have not done so already. Welcome to the channel if you're new. Welcome back if you've been a fan of this show for some time. Let's go straight into this. First and foremost, let's just have a quick overview of the price point of XRP. So particularly doing this video today because we're hitting these benchmarks of around $140. Now, according to CoinMarketCap, it was 142 slightly earlier, or a few hours ago today. We look at the whole spectrum of the all times. Of course, previously, I won't mention his name, but someone in one of my group chats was buying around these kind of $2-3 areas and has been waiting an eternity. There's been a lot of back-end jokes on this kind of thing, on that principle, but I'm hoping for his sake and many of us that we do see these numbers again. However, the last time we've seen these current price points around 140-ish, was back in 2021. So it's all pretty much a 3-year high, I believe. So that was hitting around 155. So not far off that. But as I said, the last time we sort of approached these particular price points was back then. So what's been going on? Obviously, the penetration upwards trend of Bitcoin has definitely been accelerating for sure. Of course, some of that always does trickle down usually into what we call the altcoins, or the ones that are outside of the usual Bitcoin and Ethereum. Some of that cycle is depleted somewhat over the last few years, but it's important to recognize and see that XRP not only just a fantastic asset and its technology, its utility, of course, which we've covered a multitude of times. I've met many of the Ripple members in both my time with Paris Blockchain Week and also at the Digital Pound Foundation events that I attend. Also, these guys know what they're doing. I think it's about timing, particularly from the utility side. Yes, there's a lot of piloting going on, a lot of trials going on, some integrations, of course, but the real switch-ons after November 2025, I think this is when we're going to see the acceleration of the financial system really turning on. As we've mentioned in previous videos, November 2025, big date for most of the RTGS systems on worldwide, and companies like Ripple or XRP's token utility to really facilitate that area. So I think there's plenty more to come in the future for sure. But back to my point about being grounded, we're going to the chart data in a second shortly. Let's just observe some of these key reactions as to why XRP particularly itself has been rising in conjunction really with some of the other assets like Bitcoin. Obviously not as much, certainly not from a value perspective, but the percentages are there for everyone to see. In fact, I think the last 24 hours, look at that, $18 billion worth of trade volume. Absolutely incredible movements there. So one of the key things that's been going on for many, many years is this situation with the XRP or Ripple with the SEC. If you remember, we covered a multitude of times over the last 3 or 4 years, significant milestones where XRP or Ripple had won essentially some of the court cases in some aspects in terms of being security, etc., or the validity of that. We've passed those periods of time. But then, of course, what we then had as well in amongst that, or just the beginning of that area, was Gary Gensler. Think what you will. I don't know him personally, of course. but he was put in there to do a job. In theory, his job was relatively complete to an extent, or did the best that he could do to obtain what they needed to do for the US government, etc. So not my place to agree or disagree with that at this moment in time, but the motions were there. And now we fast forward to 2024, the last stages. Of course, Trump be the inbound president as of next year, technically, albeit has won it now, is removing Gensler from his position, or has allowed Gensler to remove himself. I don't know which way around that really is. You never fully know. And will be replaced. Now, for those that have been following the channel or following XRP in general, they will fully know or be fully aware of this integration of the SEC, XRP token, and Gensler as a trio of a bad cocktail, let's put it that way. However, with this change of notion, this releases a sense of confidence, a sense of trust, a further trust, a sense of belief again in an asset class like XRP. We know its capabilities, we know how powerful it can be, and it has relatively been sustained for a number of years under this Biden administration, and particularly with Gensler in charge. So you can see here all the different enforcement actions, how much money, and this is what I said, like at the end of the day, whether you like or dislike, his job was to obtain these enforcement actions in terms of a monetary value. $21 billion has been returned back in terms of penalties, but also returning money to people. So it's interesting. However, of course, from a crypto user or crypto investor's perspective, you can sometimes see people like this or administrations like this as a barrier of what you want to do or what you're trying to achieve and what you really want to do, but they always try and pull it back somehow, or they try and not let the Joe public win. So this is where we have an acceleration now of the price point with all these things going on. And not just this, as I said, the market in itself is in a good position. The timing's really immaculate. And we did say in a video, even 4, 5, 6 months ago, I was adamant really that Trump would win, and that in this US election scenario, we will see a market trend. That's not me being Mystic Meg or anything like this. It's just based on historic information and just how generally markets react to certain appointments in government, and particularly when those that are coming in are pro-crypto. So this is what we are seeing as a development in the market of a number of variables, and seeing that price reach, as it says here, that previous all-time, well, not all-time high, but saying the most recent high we've seen in this category of price was 3 years ago. So there's a couple of demonstrations of why this has happened. I mentioned earlier about the grounding mechanism, and this is not to put out the fire of XRP at all, because I am an investor, a holder of XRP, have been since 2019. It's one of the first ones I purchased. Can't even remember the exact prices. I was buying them at like 8 cents and 12 cents, most of them. And that, the return has been good, obviously. So we're just going to analyze a few things in the chart right now. I'll shove that on the screen. Here is XRP. I'm just going to pull up this area so we can see a bit more detailed information. You see here what I meant earlier about the fantastic run that it has been on in just the last week. 81% increase. That's phenomenal, really. Sometimes you only see that in a cycle in some assets. So a really good, strong week. In terms of the year-to-dates and things like that, again, really positive, really structured. The all-time aspect is quite generally high as well. So I haven't touched this. I don't even know when the last XRP video is. I'm just going to have to scroll back on my screen. I certainly can't see it in the last 6, 7 months. Or maybe the XRP last one is 8 months ago. So I haven't really touched this chart since that long. So I've left all these bits and pieces. In fact, that makes sense, because if we look at these last fib retracement levels, these are done March and April. So what's interesting here, if I just zoom in, we are just slightly attacking this line here, which is basically on the 145. So this demonstrates, guys, the fib retracement. You take some of the lower points and the higher points in certain different areas. You can break this down into smaller areas if you want a really macro or micro level, but you can also see the extensive curves. There's extensive potential trend lines of where a token can go, where its potential support lines are, which will then help us determine whether if we stabilize in those areas, could we break up to the next point, how much money, how much generation of trading needs to occur for us to actually push up to that next level. So the grounding perspective in my mind comes from the fact that we're pretty much matching near enough the same movement that we saw back here in July 2021. In fact, if you measure it across all the way there, 15th July 2021, the price point of around about 50-ish cents, exactly pretty much where we were on the 4th of November earlier this year. You can see, you're never going to get the exact same pattern, of course, but you will see we've broken to this point. We've hit this major point here. Arguably, in the medium terms, we were looking at roughly around 135, but let's just go for the longer term planning here at the moment. So what does this mean? It means that currently fighting this particular area, in fact, to make it easier, I will pull that all the way across. I won't move it too much, try and keep it level with where it was, just to give you an indication. It's not hit exactly there, but it always gives you a rough estimation or representation of where we are trying to achieve. So you see here, first of all, we broke into these two areas. It stopped on this purple line here on 129. Traced back because it couldn't support that level around to sort of near the $1 mark. And then we pushed ourselves up quite rapidly in 2 or 3 days time. So we're back at this principle. The argument next is, well, where is this going? Can we stabilize at this 130 mark over a period of time? If we can, we will probably go and properly retest the current areas that we're at now. It may even do this in the next few days, who knows, at this sort of 150 level. We need that stabilization there. You will always have a stabilization, meaning of, we'll see a bit of a, excuse the pun here, ripple effect of testing the previous fib level and this one here before we go up to here. The next one up is 180, guys. So that's quite a big jump. Some would argue, well, hang on a minute, we've gone from 50 cents to 150 in the space of a week and a half. Why can't we push an extra, 30, 40 cents? Well, we've got to understand a couple of other things. So the RSI's at the bottom here. This indicates the relative strength index, and it shows at the moment on a 14-day, so this is a 14-day period and a 28-day period, we're seeing 89 and 85 respectively. This is very high level, okay? So it's literally 0 to 100 as a scoring system, essentially, in basic terms. 89 would suggest that, obviously, there's around about 11 points of that RSI left. So if we were to invest right now as a new user, and it's not financial advice, it's my opinion and on previous experience, if I was to jump in and go, oh, wow, XRP is really exciting, I don't even know what it is, but I'm going to jump in anyway because it's going up and up. There's an argument that, yes, of course, we could potentially go $182, who knows? But that RSI index gives us a fluctuation pattern in our minds to suggest that there's a small residual element of movement left for that to really push up. For that number needs to come down roughly again to, say, 50 to 60 at a minimum, in my opinion, to facilitate a conversation in your mind to see whether you would want to input at this moment in time, add capital, etc. And you can also use this as a trend method of buying and selling, of course, in general, as a trading method, sorry. But yes, 89 at the moment is very high. So I'd be surprised if we went and accelerated all the way up to 180 in the coming days. It can definitely happen over a longer period of time, but I just think because of those RSI numbers, yes, there is still a bit in the tank. Is that enough to push us to that level? It's quite a big jump from there. And the principal factor is that from the 12th of November at 50 cents, we're talking about literally 10 days of a significant jump. And in fact, if we just put in quickly the price movements of the range, we've obviously got the week in general, we can use a bit of a stability. But if we were to hit that 180, we're talking about from that 50 cent mark at a 260% increase. We've seen it before. We've seen it in silly coins that don't even do anything. So why can't we see an XRP? But, there's a lot of holders of XRP. There's certainly still good supply left, of course, but let's see how that goes. So that's why I'm saying just have a bit of a grounded mentality as well to identify where we are in history right now, where we are in the present, because we are matching these. And there's no doubt in my mind that this is obviously a retaliation area. You can clearly see that because if we remove that price range marker quickly and some of the squiggles, it's obviously an area of interest because we've hit that back matching up with 5th of September 2021-ish. And it has slightly retraced in the last couple of hours, but it's going to play around this area. It could retest, as I said, this purple area, which indicates back to the 15th of November. maybe we'll see the complete drop down again. Maybe it's just had its time and it's done. So it's almost a repeated pattern. However, as I've said in many videos, 2025 is an important year for the financial industry and blockchain in general. And I do think that we will be seeing some significant growth in a lot of the assets out there, and particularly ones where people are going, oh, this is a boring coin, or it's not doing anything, it's supposed to be big, it's involved in banks, why is it not moving? You have to understand the utility factor and the timing of it all. You know, you kind of switch it on in most instances. Unless you're following meme coins, which have a lot of marketing activity behind them, arguably no utility at all, you can make money on those, absolutely. But for me personally, because of the technological aspect of interest that I have in the space, these kind of assets adhere more to me from a longer term perspective. So if we just quickly trace back to the previous all-time area up here at 198, it's not actually the complete all-time high, I don't think. I think that the actual all-time high back in 2018 was around $3. If someone wants to correct me on that, I think it was around $3. So yeah, unfortunately, the data doesn't go back that far on this particular chart itself, unless I'm going mad. It might do. What's this one? No, doesn't go quite as far back. So we're just going to use this as an observation. The actual, as I said, all-time high was up here around $3. So I'm just going to utilize this, what we know so far. I do think personally that previous high of 196 is absolutely potentially achievable within now and the 2025 period. I think it'd be crazy if not, especially with everything that's going on with Gensler, the new administration in the US, and what's going on in the financial world, the RTGS system turn on. The ISO compliance aspect is in full swing with all banks in the world now, and that merging aspect of cross-border is occurring also, with all the pilots coming to their conclusions, and then the integrations from sort of June to November next year. So that's in the future. The now is very much focused on the fact, as I said, we're at a very high ground right now. It's a bit risky to potentially be jumping in. I'm not saying that it won't accelerate further, but it all really depends on your initial or original investment points, your price points that you were in. If you're jumping in at these stages, don't expect a miracle to be quadrupling, 10, 50, 20, 100 times your amounts. We're in a small spectrum of XRP right now, so you just have to apply that methodology in your minds before you do anything irrational in the markets. So for me personally, I actually sold some at 119 on this way up, because obviously we never know how high or where it's coming back to, and I thought, well, it's a good position on where I was buying at, i.e. the 10-12 cents up to 120 or 119 something it was. Yes, of course we've gone higher, so people could laugh and go, oh, you missed out on an extra 20 cents worth of the value. Well, yeah, that's fine, but I can still take some profits up at these higher areas. But equally, the reason I did it was just in case we had that retracement back towards $1. Now I stupidly put mine slightly lower under the $1. It still might come in, of course, but it did come back down to sort of 105. So in hindsight, I should probably have made it slightly higher than the $1 and not be so greedy on that buyback in, because that 20-cent drop was quite significant value-wise. So it's all really down to that. Don't focus too much on the actual price points as such. Of course, they are important, but it's all about where your initial positions were. If you're new to the space, you have to please understand the historic aspects of what the token is you're investing in. What is the actual token? What is the actual company that you're investing in? Yes, of course, you could be fully speculative. You could just be like, yeah, this is on ride, I'm willing to risk it. That's down to you. But just be aware of where we are, what we've been doing with XRP, and what's to potentially come. So that's a bit of a wrap up, guys, of the first video back. I've kept it under 20 minutes, which is unusual. So thanks for watching. Do smash that subscribe button if you haven't done so already. Hopefully you enjoyed the content. We'll have more asset videos coming in the next day or two, and I'll have a couple more later today as well. Got lots to catch up with, as you can imagine, with this cycle that we're in. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you in the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.